Assalamu alaikum guys. In this video we will learn how to validate unique rows in Laravel. What I mean by validating unique rows here, I have this model as you can see here, this address book, and I save my customers or my friend's name, email and phone, and here is the database schema address book. So I'm creating very simple table, name, email, phone, and I set unique row by email and phone and name. So if I back here to my database and refresh, let's expand it here to be more clear. As you can see here, if I try to duplicate this row completely, this one here, right? And if I try to save, I will face this error because of this duplication, right? This user already exists, and with this data, this email and this phone and this name exists already in this row. So how can we validate this duplication? In three different ways. Let's start. First of all, on my controller here, this one, I will say address book here, address book, and I will say create, right? And I will say here request validated. So the first thing here, I have this normal things, right, without checking any unique here in my form class. So the first solution, not bad one, we can say here, first I will truncate my database, remove save, and I will return response JSON message success, for example, and I will say here in my endpoint, I am sending name, email, and phone. I will send it, it's saved. What if I try to send this data again? Send, now I faced this error. The first thing, or the first solution, we can check if user exists with this data. If we don't, you want to use update or create. So I want to give a message to a user without using update or create for maybe some logic. So the first thing here, I will check is already exists, right? And I will say address book where here and name request name, right? The same thing also for email and phone, right? And I will say here exists, and I will say port F, this is already exists with 400 bad request, right? So if I back here and I will send the same request again, I will provide a message here at port F, third parameter, yes. In the third parameter, I will say this address already exists. Now let's start to send it again, and it throws message, right, with 400 status here, this status, right? Here's the first solution, but I don't prefer it because it's inside controller. The second solution also, it can be also inside the controller, but using exception. So I will say here try, right? And first of all, I want to show you something. Notice about this code. Now we have this the same data here in our database. If I refresh, right, and if I send it again, I will receive SQL state this code, right? So I will back here, I will set it again, and I will use try catch statement, and I will die and dump here the exception get code, right? So back here, and I will receive this code, send, and as you can see here, so I will say again here a port F, this or th exception, let's name it to exception E here, and I will use exception so here, the same, and I will say E get code equal to 23,000, and I will say here 400 also for status response status code, and I will say again address already exists back and send the request again, and I will throw this error message, right, without 500 error message. The solutions that I prefer, rather than these two solutions, I will back here to my database. First I will remove it, or sorry, my form request, and in any one of them I will say here role, right, this class, and unique, as we learned from this video. You can watch it here, and I will say inside address box table for phone here, where, as you can see here, I will say array name, this name, and email, also email, this email, and here also phone, this phone. I think we don't need phone because I specified it here inside the unique function as a second parameter. So let's back and let's rerun it again here, send and array. So I need to fix it here, my request. Instead of that, I will use change where here. I will say name, this name, where email, this email, right here. And let's try again, and it works. So the phone has already been talking, but it's not only for the phone. The message includes the row completely, right? I am checking for whole row. So instead of this message, we can say here function, right, messages, and I will say return here for phone, right, and for unique error I will say this address already exists. Now let's try again. Here, send request, and as you can see now, let's send this here, right, with a phone, right? It's okay, we can use it for any key of that. So here, my preferred or my favorite solution using a where with unique. So here I am checking it's unique by phone, this table address box that I use here, and here also I want to check unique by phone and with also row name and where email, right? So now let's change this data, one of them. I will say Muhammad, for example, send, and it works. Let's try to recreate it. Now I am receiving this error message. So maybe the front end toolbar, or if you want to use this message, we can use it here or using it here. Here's a quick tip about validating unique rows in Laravel. If you found it useful, support me by clicking on like, share, and subscribe. See you in next video.